All right, good afternoon. This is Penelope Flynn, the moderator and I guess the referee here in I guess our starting show, which is at I guess the Urbane Prospectors of Gotham. Am I the only one getting a duplicate of myself speaking? Yeah.
Yeah,
No.
I don't see a
Okay.
duplicate.
All right. Cool. All right. Everybody's fine. All right. Let's go. So I'll introduce you to the actual individuals who are running the show, and that is Otto and James, and they are your native New Yorkers and your New Yorker who's a native but now a transplant. And this afternoon, we're going to be talking about those words, those street names that the rest of us who don't live in New York probably mispronounce and why they're pronounced the way that they are. So I want to get started. And James, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, I was born and raised in the Bronx. I was born September 17th at 5 a.m. on a Saturday in Jacoby Hospital. Okay, 5 years ago, I moved down to Manhattan, and I pretty much, except for, I guess, except for maybe Staten Island, I pretty much know all about New York City, having lived here. And I've dealt with the good and I've dealt with the bad.
All right. And I guess part of this is, of course, that James is also a writer. Tell us a little bit about your writing.
Okay, I write speculative fiction, as they say, which incorporates horror, sci-fi, fantasy, steampunk, um, I guess gothic horror, occult horror, and I've been at it for the last 10 years. I currently have a book out called Terror by Night, which is a collection of short stories featuring my main occult detective characters, Madison Cavendish and Seneca Sioux Sun Mountain. You can find the book on Amazon along with some other anthologies. This fall, I have a short story in an anthology. Was it Halloween Party 25? I also write what you call Black Erotica. I'm in Blood Erotica Volume 1 and 2. And what is what is it? Therapy. That's I guess with that
Blood
blood
Erotic
erotic,
2 is, yeah,
yeah,
couple therapy.
yeah, couples therapy, and that also can be found on Amazon. Hello.
I hear you.
Oh,
Right. All right. And I guess Otto, why don't you introduce yourself?
Well, my name is Otto. I'm the husband of Penelope Flynn. I was born and raised in Brooklyn, the best borough in New York. And I didn't do any of that stuff that
you
James did.
surely you just.
I didn't write anything except if you count the stuff I wrote on the school walls and stuff. Uh, I'm just a workaday Joe. I don't live in New York City anymore, but it's in my bones and blood. My family still lives there. Um, so I love the city. I monitor the city from the outside now,
Mhm.
but it's still I consider it my city still. And my main thing is people who are newcomers, people from Ohio and all these other places like that. They had what I would say one thing. They have a lot of nerve.
A lot in there. All right, here we go. Okay. Today, again, we're talking about how you pronounce and you pronounce that how. One of the conversations we have, because of course I'm not from New York, I'm from South Florida, and visited New York many times growing up. We have relatives that migrated up north, and there are words that growing up you see them spelled, but you never hear them spoken. So we had one of those conversations one day about those certain words that places in New York that you cannot possibly know how to pronounce it if you're just trying to read it. Okay. So one of the ones for me is like, that old story, the guy named Peter, whose last name began with an S, and he was supposed to have getting the natives on Manhattan some beads or something for the purchase price for the entire city, I guess. I don't know, all of it, I guess. That they figured here, here's some beads that pays for the entire island of Manhattan.
Island of Manhattan.
Right. So that name is spelled Stuyvesant. Now, I never heard the name said before. I'd only read it. So I did not know how to pronounce it. So I went through my entire childhood really pronouncing it Stuyvesant.
That is
Yeah.
funny. That's funny as hell. That
Yeah.
is,
I mean, because
Okay.
that's what it looks like, Stuyvesant. I did not know until I was almost an adult, high school, that
Stuyvesant.
Stuyvesant,
well,
S T
you know
U
what
I
though? You know what though? You know
Stuyvesant,
what?
right?
I can
What?
understand. I can understand that, and the reason I can understand that is I knew how to pronounce that name, that word or name, word, noun, whatever, long before I read the could read, because it's so integrated into the city of New York. I mean, this Bedford Stuyvesant, the Stuyvesant High School, it's just Peter Stuyvesant. It's just all over the place. So before I could learn how to read and know what that word's how it was spelled and everything, I knew how to pronounce it.
Yeah. So those of us who didn't, I mean, like you said, um, Bedford Stuyvesant. That's when I knew because my sister had gone to college and I was in high school and talking about people who were from, Bedford Stuyvesant. Said, oh, that's that word. Okay. All these years with Stuyvesant. So there you go. Because I mean, phonetically, that's what it looks like to me. So this is a conversation we start out about how things in New York are spelled and how they actually sound. And I guess you guys, you're from there. You probably don't know these words that we look at, us outsiders, and get wrong. But I guess actually you all are there and you hear the people who are outsiders come there and pronounce it wrong. So, but when you all were there, when you were there, Otto, and now, James, what are the ones that you hear people mispronounce the most?
Okay. First of all, first of all, when it comes to Stuyvesant, I I get it. I understand, the mispronouncing of it. Frankly, I'm like Otto. Before I could even read or write, we heard Stuyvesant. Okay, and Stuyvesant, that name is it's all over New York. You have actually Stuyvesant Village down on 14th Street in Manhattan. It's a co-op. So that's when I first heard it. Also, I understand, the mispronouncing because a quick story. Friday, when I was on my way to work, two people stopped me at the train station and they wanted to get back to Queens. And the gentleman, it was a man, woman, he said, well, how can we get back to the purple train?
The purple train.
Yeah, the purple train. And I'm like, what? What? My mind is short circuiting. What the fuck what did you talk about? Then I said, listen, do me a favor. Don't say the purple train. Say the number 7 train. That's what you want. You want to know? I know that it has the purple disc,
Yeah.
behind the 7, but please, in the name of creatures big and small, say the 7 train because
See, James, you're nice. You're a nice New Yorker, and you give the city a good name. I'm on the other hand would have said, "Oh yeah, take the purple train, go down to Fulton Street, and then catch the L train to the C." And then I would have walked off. I would have walked off because that's what you get for calling a goddamn train purple.
Wow.
and trust me, that thought did cross my mind, but I'm like, no, I can't do that, So
You're kind. You are a good guy.
You're
yeah,
nice. He's nice.
but let's cut to the chase and get to the main reason why we're doing this show today. I was again. Now I'm going. 'Cause last year, maybe earlier, I'm coming home from work, and I said, okay, I gotta catch the J train over the canal and switch to the Q. So I get on the J train, I'm riding it, and the announcement, the announcement, the person, it's a woman's voice, and I know this is not computerized, messing up. She said, next stop, Kosciuszko Street. I like.
The conductor said that.
No, well, it wasn't the conductor. It was the automated. Because now they have the computers tell you what the next stop is.
So
But
they don't have conductors anymore saying that?
No, they have conductors. They have the conductor. But see, the conductors, when they get on the train at the start of their trip, they can program the computer where it gives the stops, automated voice, or they can do it by themselves, physically, I guess you could say. Because some conductors are still old school, and they like to put a little relish and flair on the announcements. It's like, yeah, step right in, blah blah blah. Watch the closing doors, stuff like that. But this early morning, I guess the conductor was like, listen, I just want to get through my shift, so I let the computer say it. But see, the thing about it, when the computer said Kosciuszko Street,
damn,
I know it wasn't. I know it wasn't a computer glitch. There and see, I've heard this. I've heard the name pronounced in other places. Okay, you have
what other places?
like on the radio, people talk on the street. See, you have a certain segment of people coming in the city that want to pronounce the name as Kosciuszko, while me and you, hard-boiled, old school, OG New Yorkers, we say Kosciuszko.
It's Kosciuszko.
Thank you.
And I asked my brother about it this morning.
Mm-hmm.
Because I said a lot of people are confusing the name because they're from places like God-forsaken places like Ohio and stuff like that. So he said, well, he learned how to say it, based on family and friends, and also because the 1010 wins news.
Yeah. Yeah.
And also he said there's a Kosciuszko Bridge.
Yeah.
And they just finished building that, so no one has any excuse.
Yeah, I don't get it. I don't understand. And see, on 1010, you could kind of tell the OG 1010 newscasters from the new ones, because the old school say Kosciuszko. Some of them, the new ones, will try and say they've tried to say Kosciuszko.
Why would you say that though?
I don't know. I don't know where.
I saw somewhere where they were saying that pronunciation, like a Polish pronunciation of it. I don't know.
What, Kosciuszko?
Yeah.
Well, you know what though? Take your ass
But
back to Poland because we decided how we're going to say this street, and we've been saying it for years and decades and centuries.
Right.
Who are you to
Exactly.
come in and say, I'm Polish and I'm going to say it a different way? It's Kosciuszko.
yeah.
Which which all this dovetails into the Houston Houston
Let me take that.
thing.
Let me take that because I come from a place that has a city in it called Houston, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's and when people from Texas find out that I'm from New York, that's one of the first things they want to talk about. The differentiation between saying Houston and Houston, okay? And the fact of the matter is Houston Street existed way before there was any city called Houston. But then people want to get into an argument with me, and they say, "Well, is Houston? If that's the case, then why is Soho called Soho and not Soho?"
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I said, you know what? We have differentiations. We're not robots. We call things the way they're called. So is Houston. And let me tell you something else about like Siri and Alexa, etc. The other automated mapping entities to help you navigate the streets.
Hmm.
Um, they they have a bias because they call a street here that's called Houston, the Houston Viaduct. They call it Houston.
Yeah.
They
That
call
is,
it Houston, right, Penelope?
Um, 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 yes, they do that sometimes. Yeah. If you go on Siri or one of the things that has been programmed not here, yeah, that they may not say Houston. Isn't that weird?
They'll say Houston.
yeah.
Yeah.
And see, what people got to understand is probably with the Houston family, because that's with Sam Houston and whatnot in Texas. But it's a possibility that the certain part certain part of the Houston family decided to pronounce their name as Houston.
Hmm.
Okay, just like a couple of years ago, I had went to the Apollo and it was a celebration of Jimi Hendrix,
Hmm.
celebrate his birthday. Ernie Osley was there. Jimi Hendrix uh, cousin that's in charge of the estate was there, and Nona Hendrix was there.
Hmm.
And she came out and performed. And right in the middle of the song, she said, "Listen, I got a story for y'all that people are gonna find out for the first time." She
Hmm.
said, "My family in New Jersey, because that's where Nona Hendrix is from, were," she said, "I found out that we're related to Jimi Hendrix family."
Wow.
Okay. And what it was her side of the family, for some reason, decided to take the I out of Hendrix and put a Y in.
Hmm.
Oh, okay.
Okay. But she said that she talked with some elders in both sides, West Coast Hendrix and her family, and found out that they're related. They're like distant cousins.
Wow.
Wow.
I did
So
not know that.
it's like how people pronounce it. It's just like growing up in the Bronx, which is the better of the better of.
No, no, stop. That's already
No,
you
no,
lost.
no, no, no.
You lost
So
already.
you started this.
No, you
So
lost. I started and I ended it. It's gone now. Let's
no,
move on.
no, no, no.
Let's move on.
So growing up, people used to spell my last name and pronounce my last name Goodrich.
Yeah.
Okay, which I couldn't stand because then at one point there was a commercial with,
Ugh.
yeah, where I think even Goodrich or
Yeah.
Goodrich, they
Yeah.
said they're the other guys. I used to hear that joke all the time. Okay, no, it's not Rich, it's
Ridge.
Ridge.
Has
Okay,
it always
which
been Ridge?
it's always been Ridge because what it is from my family history, my father's grandfather migrated from Barbados to the United States Virgin Islands.
Uh-huh.
Okay. And it's a bunch of Goodriches down in St. Croix. Then I found out that you have the Goodrich family in like Trinidad. But then I found out in the Bronx, Van Cortlandt Park, there's a Goodrich Street, but that's named after some socialite that used to be part of the rich 400 in New York, Sarah Goodrich.
Hmm.
Okay. And I think her husband was like a doctor and an Arctic explorer, something like that.
Wow.
Yeah. But yeah, Houston, if you're a real New Yorker, it's Houston.
It's
All right.
Houston.
It's
It's
not
Houston.
Houston. And
Yeah.
no disrespect to our Polish friends, but it's Kosciuszko.
It's Kosciuszko. And you know what? I don't care if they feel disrespecting or not. It's Kosciuszko. Because just like you said, it's history. It's so much history.
Yeah.
You don't get
Yeah.
you don't get to all of a sudden start saying something totally different.
Yeah.
It's Kosciuszko. And like you said, we grow up, we learn these names by ear, not by reading them.
Right.
Mhm.
Because
So,
people like me, because I see something and I'm reading it, I'm definitely going to pronounce it again, Ichouston. That is Houston to me. And so to go to New York and have Houston Street is just kind of like what? What?
and then that's
And then
a
people try to explain the thing to you, and it's okay. House spells house, right? So
yeah,
it's Houston.
Houston.
Yeah.
And that's how people. That's a tip off that just like the dude calling the train the purple train. We know that you're not from here. We know you're not
Yeah.
here because we grow up listening. We grow up listening to the names. Like for instance, there's a stop in downtown Brooklyn, or used to be. I don't know. Hoyt Skimmerhorn. There's
Mhm.
no way in the world that you're not from here. You're reading that in the book. You're gonna get that right.
No
And I
way,
can't
because I
blame.
saw
I
it
can't hold it
spelled,
against
and
people.
I would not. I mean, there's no way. I would just say, I want to go to that place that you know, that place that people go to.
Yeah, and the thing is, when you're traveling
And
with,
that's it.
when I travel with my mom, maybe going downtown to Alexander's or A&S or something, but downtown Brooklyn, which we call downtown, right? We call downtown Brooklyn downtown. And the conductor, like James said, old school conductors would say, next stop, Horton Skimmerhorn, downtown Brooklyn, Horton Skimmerhorn Street.
Now my
Next
question
stop,
is this. Okay, wait.
next
What's
stop,
that
hold on,
question?
next stop,
Okay, go ahead.
next stop,
Go ahead.
J Street, next stop, J Street, Borough Hall.
Yeah, but my question is to you all. Um, when you saw it spelled for the first time, did you know that that's what that was?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
because
you didn't look at it and say, that's weird, that pronunciation is real weird. You didn't say that?
No,
no.
I didn't
Why
say
would you
that.
not? Because it's not even sound. It doesn't even, okay. The Hoyt part,
No,
I will
that's just the
give
way
you the
it's done.
Hoyt. I'll give you the Hoyt, but that other thing, that other part, come on, let's see.
Skimmerhorn.
Spell it.
Skimmer.
Spell it.
SCHMERHORN. Skimmerhorn.
SCH.
EMERHORN. Skimmerhorn.
Okay, so you're
Shimmer. Nobody would say that. They would say shimmer.
No,
Shimmer.
they may say it, but if you brought up hearing it all the time, spoken in your house
right,
and
right.
spoken on the subway, you're not going to call it. I don't know anybody that I've ever been with in New York call it anything other than Skimmerhorn.
Yeah, because the thing about it,
No, the way it's spelled is spelled Schermerhorn.
Yeah, we know that.
Schermerhorn.
yeah,
We
we,
know.
we
I
yeah,
know, but I'm just saying that when you saw it for the first time, when you heard it all your life. Okay, I get that. You heard it all your life. And
right.
then you see it spelled Schermerhorn. Did you say, hey, y'all are pronouncing it wrong?
Nope.
No,
No.
because see what saves us is that Hoyt is right before Skimmerhorn.
Right, right. I'm
So
saying, how do you
soon as you see
know?
now, well, see, this is what I'm saying. Now, had been just Skimmerhorn is on the sign, then it would be a problem. Okay, but you're kind of getting help because Hoyt is right there.
Hoyt and Skimmerhorn.
Right. So
Okay.
once you see Hoyt, you're gonna say Hoyt and Skimmerhorn.
Yeah, I
You
mean,
see what I'm saying?
and when you're riding on the subway, the old school conductors, they're giving you a geography lesson too. So they're saying
Yeah.
like Hoyt and Skimmerhorn, J Street, Borough Hall next, last stop
Hmm.
in Brooklyn, next stop, whatever. It's like Lower Manhattan. Now you're in Lower Manhattan. Now you're on Spring Street. Now you're all these other places or in the
Mhm.
city as we call it. You're in the city now.
Yeah. I get what you're saying, Penelope, about the pronunciation, but what saves us or gives us a little bit of help is Hoyt is right there. As soon as you see it, oh,
Yeah,
Hoyt Skimmerhorn. Now if it
yeah,
was just Skimmerhorn, you would be, well, how do you pronounce it? Is that Glockenspiel or
Yeah,
what?
right, right, right. But I'm saying that,
like
Yeah.
one word.
but when you looked at it, the first time you looked at it, I mean, really looked at it, did you say, that says Shermer?
No,
This
No,
is
no. I
Shermer.
what I said.
You
What
never
I said.
did.
What I what
never
I
did.
said. When I first saw it was, oh, that's how you spell that.
That's how you spell that. You
Yeah.
didn't
I
say
I
that's
really
spelled a way that look like what it.
I didn't pay. It didn't pay no mind to me. Didn't
No,
pay
I
no.
was like,
But see
oh,
what?
that's how you spell that. Yeah.
But I never said, oh, that's how you. But what, like I said, what saved it is you see Hoyt, so
Yeah.
you like give him a horn. So
So
you're
you say
really not, as a New Yorker, you're not
you're not
really
reading it. You never read it.
Yeah, you
never
never.
read it.
If somebody asks you, somebody say, hey, what train did I take to get to Horton Skimmerhorn? They said, well, you got several options. It's downtown Brooklyn. You could take the A, the C, the F, the blah, 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 blah.
Hmm.
You know, but you know what they're talking about. Now, if you talk about a purple train, oh boy, you say,
Like I
oh,
said,
I want to get to Houston Street. Oh yeah, you could. Let me tell you how to get to Houston Street. You taking the bus or you taking the train? I understand how we say it too.
Train. The
We don't say
train. That's the
subway.
plane I'm taking. The purple train.
Yeah, but the thing is this: in New Yorkers, we don't say subway. We say train.
yeah,
Yeah.
You taking the bus or you taking the train?
that's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
I'm just saying, I would say, um, still, if I was a person that's there and I'm seeing these words, I'm thinking, okay, this is what do you call it? This is the thing that's spelled the way it's spelled. I'm going to say it the way that it looks like it sounds.
No,
I,
don't do that. Just
I
say
mean,
it the way
I'm
New
a
Yorkers
phonics
say it.
person. I grew up
No,
on phonics, hooked on phonics, as they
yeah,
say, right?
well, that goes out the window when it comes to that. And and the thing is like what helps me is that down here where I'm at now, where people have like ethnic names and stuff, I'm like, that's a breeze for me, man. That's a breeze. I mean, it's like the old thing, Hammaker Schlemmer. Or something. It's like we grew up talking with using those kind of, consonants and
Yeah.
we it's so easy for us. Other people would say, man, how do you know how to say that name like that? Because we grew up talking like that.
Yeah, those are normal landmarks for you.
Yeah, normally like Schlemmer and Schlep and
Yeah.
and a lot of ethnic names. We just we just
Yeah,
we just go by it.
yeah, yeah. Now I will tell you, there's a part of New York that kind of confuses new and old. That's
Mhm.
Spite and Dival.
Yeah,
Oh
see
my
that's
God. It's
yeah,
what the heck is that?
yeah.
Yes, the Spite and Dival. To tell you the truth, is much of a New York conscious, New York historian, whatever you want to call me over there. I have to check and see whether Spite and Dival is a part of Manhattan or a part of the Bronx. Okay, right now I can't remember which is which, but a lot of
Yeah,
people have a problem with Spuyten because it's an old Dutch name.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And
Okay, just
and the thing is, James, if I can't pronounce it, I ain't going there.
well,
I'm not going somewhere.
I don't think you would want to go to Spuyten anyway, because
Why? What is it?
okay, here's the story. The Dutch were at war. I guess it was with the British, and they were fighting a battle up there, northern Manhattan, southern Bronx,
Mhm.
and they had to get a message to their troops, the
Mhm.
general, Dutch general. So it was a rainy, stormy night, and he said, "Listen, I got to get somebody to get to the rest of our troops." And people were like, "Well, you got to cross the river." And right now, the river's kind of crazy because up in that part of Manhattan, the Harlem River, and all of that there, Hell's Gate, the water's very rough. So this young Dutch soldier said, "Okay, sir, I'll take the message and I'll get across the river to them, to our other troops, in spite of the devil."
Mhm. That's
And
it.
yeah, and he jumped in the river and wasn't found. He just disappeared.
That's
Okay.
pretty good.
Yes,
That's
All right.
so
A good story.
so the end of the story is that part of Manhattan, the Harlem River, is supposed to be, it's haunted, or you have the devil or whatnot, and they call it Spuyten which is Dutch for "in spite of the devil."
Mm.
Okay, they even
interesting.
have a Metro North station up there too.
Yeah, it's Dutch for me for like I ain't going there. But there's some other stuff like that. There's like a street called
Oh
Mhm.
yeah,
Herkimer Street, which to me as a kid, and once again I heard it before I saw it, and then you grow up and you become like 13, 14 years old, and you hear, oh God, you got to go to Herkimer Street to get some paperwork done, and you say, you know what, that sounds like a sex act performing in a crowd, a Herkimer.
I don't know where that came from, but okay.
Yeah,
That's
yeah, I came in my
interesting.
Herkimer.
Okay. I don't know where they came from, but
I don't know
all
where that.
right.
I don't know where they. But it sounded like that.
I gave
That's
him
a
a
Herkimer.
Herkimer.
Well, let's get back to the thing we're really talking about, the pronunciation of Herkimer.
A
And I
Herkimer.
would say, like Otto was saying that he would pronounce it is Herkimer. Basically, I'm not pronounced that way, but that's what it is. And
Yeah,
I
Do
said,
you
I would
want to?
pronounce
Do you
I,
want a Herkimer?
thank you. Thank you. Now
hey,
y'all gonna
sweetie, you want a
start something with
Herkimer?
this. You're gonna
Oh,
start
I don't
but
want
something.
no damn Herkimer.
see, that's what makes the city, and that's what makes especially Brooklyn unique, is
Mhm.
that you can pretty much tell where a lot of the Dutch before the British came
Mhm.
settled at, because you
Yeah.
have Herkimer, you have Skimmerhorn, you have actually the name Brooklyn itself.
Yeah.
There's two versions of the Brooklyn name.
Now
Okay,
tell
there's
me.
the
Now tell me
That's the
that.
one that's the Brooklyn, right?
right
You
Hmm.
Brooklyn.
joking?
Yeah.
You
There,
joking?
no, 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 no. In fact, one of my short stories, I
Hmm.
mentioned the fact that one of the main characters, her grandfather was the last mayor. His name was Smith. I think Grayson Smith. He was the last mayor of Brooklyn before consolidation,
Right.
and
Hmm.
they're trying to find out what type of entity is trying to possess her. And my characters think that maybe the ghost of her grandfather has returned to what he called Brooklyn. Dutch is how you say it? Excuse me. I think BREU.
UGL. It's a Brooklyn. It's like
If I saw
Brooklyn.
some crap like that, I would never know how to pronounce it.
But oh Lord,
I
but
would not know how to pronounce that.
but no, it's basically the same as Brooklyn.
Well,
Okay,
I
it,
tell you what, when I was doing my, I had to get a replacement Social Security card,
mhm.
and the guy said, "Oh, you're from? I see you're from New York City." I said, "Yes, I am." He said, "What part of New York City?" I said, "Brooklyn." And he started looking my stuff up in the system, and says, "Well, it says right here you were born in Kings County. I thought you said you were
Uh-huh.
born in New York."
Mhm.
Okay, now here's
Gotcha.
the
He
story.
got
I got to explain it. I got to explain to this guy that I'm not a fraud. I'm not a fraud. You know, I got to go through the whole story of the 5 boroughs in New York, and the one that I was born in it's called Kings County officially, but it is called Brooklyn.
Mhm.
So you can
Yeah.
imagine that guy's face if I come up with some new name for Brooklyn.
Yeah. So you know what? You're just making this stuff up,
Yeah,
aren't
you're
you?
not getting nothing.
You make
Yeah.
everything up as you go along.
What are you trying to pull a Trump?
Yeah,
Right.
what is this? I thought you were from New York City. This thing said Kings County, man. What are you talking?
And see right there that tells you when the British came into New York. Because you got Kings County, you got Queens,
Yeah.
okay, the Bronx, re- really the
Bronx
Bronx
County,
County,
Manhattan County,
Manhattan County,
and Staten
Richmond,
Island.
Staten Island is Richmond.
Is it?
Yeah,
I thought that piece of
yeah.
crap didn't have the name other than what.
No, it's Richmond County. Come on
Well, wait,
now.
wait,
Be
you go,
be
wait.
nice to
Oh,
Staten Island
okay,
people now.
let me ask this then, because I remember, Otto, you telling me that you went to a school called Richmond Hill, right?
Yes, I did, which was located in Queens.
Okay, so Staten Island is in Richmond County?
Yeah.
Huh. So who's this Richmond we speak of?
I have no
Richmond
idea.
Hill.
Yeah, I don't
I
know.
have no idea. That's one of the mysteries. Just like okay, with Manhattan, really you're supposed to take the N off at the end of Manhattan. It's Manhattan.
Really?
That's what some of the Indian tribes called it.
Hmm.
Yeah, you try to
Okay.
make people more confused. You try to make the people more confused, James.
I'm just I'm
It's
just
history.
I'm just supplying the raw data, I guess you could say.
Because now
No,
they're not gonna be calling that. They're gonna take the purple train to Manhattan. He wind he wind up someplace on Long Island somewhere.
yeah, I ain't gonna lie. He totally messed up my head when he said the purple
Yeah.
train. I,
You know what? I would give him the old New York phony directions. So you can stop talking to me.
yeah, tell him
Questionable.
to take the purple train up to Spite Dieville, and then
Yeah.
Okay.
catch
And then take the Bronx Expressway and then go up to the Belt Parkway.
oh my, but yeah, it's see, this is to me, this is what fascinates me about the city because you have little nooks and crannies, information. I recently found out that on the Lower East Side you had a Manhattan Street.
Oh,
Okay,
really? Oh, yeah.
yeah, yeah, it was there until maybe the 1920s. Cause see, a couple of decades after they consolidated the city was trying to remap the grid, so to speak,
Yeah.
and it changed the names. Like where I come from in the Bronx, we have 174th Street, but I
Right.
found out that before that it was called Beacon Street.
Huh.
Okay, um, with like Brooklyn again, you'll find a lot of Dutch and straight up like solid English names in Brooklyn, like Hendrick Street,
Yeah. Civil,
Herkimer.
Civil War heroes,
Yeah, yeah.
Revolutionary War heroes.
Oh, but wait. Now that's where us in the Bronx we have a monopoly on Civil War heroes, though. I'm sorry, but we got y'all with
All I
that.
know, listen, all I know about the Bronx is 161st and Jerome Avenue.
Okay, with the
I'll go
Bronx,
down there.
with with the
That,
Yeah.
Bronx,
that's where the New York Yankees play.
Okay, so that's all you know.
and see, dovetailing into what I'm saying is near Yankee Stadium. That's Union Generalville. Okay, because you have Sheridan Avenue, you have Sherman Avenue, you have Grant Avenue. Okay, you
And
got
we got that in
Burns.
Brooklyn too. We got Grand Avenue. We got Halsey.
No, but with us though, this is mainly like Civil War.
Yeah,
See,
Grant and Halsey.
no, but we, like I said, we got the monopoly with that because besides that, we have Sedgwick Avenue,
Okay,
Burnside.
and we got Putnam.
No, but Putnam is Colonial War.
Okay, I'm just throwing it in there, man. I'm just trying to. I
See
just trying to
where
throw it in.
no where y'all see where y'all got a monopoly of is with Revolutionary War
We
generals.
got we
Yeah.
got Lafayette.
Yeah, you
Lafayette
got
Avenue.
Gates.
We got Gates Avenue. Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
We got
y'all
Halsey.
got it.
We
Y'all
got
got
Grant.
it. Hmm.
Yep.
But we got it when it comes to Civil War. There's even a building up on the well, look at what we have. We have the Grand Concourse.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, that was dedicated to the Civil War. It was supposed to be the believe it or not, the Grand Concourse was supposed to be the American version of the what is it in Paris? The Champs.
Champs Elysees.
Champs-Élysées.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Plus, you can't get any more Union than Yankee Stadium
I guess not. Huh?
right
I
there.
guess.
Also, you got
Yeah, but
uh,
you can't.
Fritz Siegel Park.
Yeah. I guess.
Okay. So, like I said, you guys got the Revolutionary
We got a
War. We
lot of
got
revolutionary. We got Fulton Street, right? But Manhattan got Fulton Street too,
yeah,
right?
because what people used to do is if they want to get to Brooklyn in a leisurely way, they would go down to Fulton Street, and there was a ferry that took you across to Brooklyn's Fulton Street.
Yeah.
Mm.
Okay, because back then you had a lot of ferries. Listen, you could catch
You
a
still got a
ferry
lot
up.
of ferries in the village.
Ha 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 ha. Boo boo.
Boom.
Boo. Yeah. Boo.
Would you like a Herkimer?
Okay.
No, I want a Kosciuszko, please.
Oh, gosh, yes. I want a
Now wait a minute. Now
Kosciuszko.
we got DeKalb Avenue. Now it wasn't DeKalb. Was it DeKalb?
Revolutionary.
The Revolutionary. That's a name that's Penelope. That's mispronounced too.
Yeah.
Dekalb.
Well, yeah, but you know what? But there's a DeKalb in Georgia in
Okay, so
Atlanta.
y'all got that,
So you said DeKalb.
and y'all
Yeah.
got and y'all got Decatur too, right? They got
Yes,
Decatur
Decatur
Avenue.
and
So you're not how to pronounce that.
yes.
Okay.
Yeah, well, there's a Decatur Avenue up in the Bronx.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Hmm.
I didn't know. Yeah.
Yeah. You have a Decatur the Bronx Prospect. Now, one thing you could say we kind of bit off of Brooklyn from in the Bronx is Prospect Avenue.
Yeah, I was going to
Okay.
ask you. Do you guys have a Prospect Avenue, Prospect Park?
No, we have a Prospect Avenue. Um, then you have like Bronx Park, which is a very strange park. Okay, and you have Palm Bay Park.
Yeah.
You know, meanwhile
Right.
with Brooklyn, y'all got these Prospect Park.
Right. And to think about it, I've been in the Bronx more than I after I think about it, we went to the always used to go to the Bronx Zoo,
Hmm.
right? And the various museums in the Bronx. So we,
Hmm.
we went to a lot of places in the Bronx.
Yeah, well, that was well with us in the Bronx. We would return the favor because we would go to we would go to Prospect Park in Brooklyn. We would go to Coney Island.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Um, Nothing beach wise can really match or compare with Coney Island.
Now, what
Yeah.
did you take the D train? What
Uh
train?
we oh God, we usually would take as long as we could get down to 42nd Street and catch the D, okay, we were good. You know, sometimes I think we would at one point they changed because now you catch the F and the Q.
Hmm.
Now, Penelope know the F.
Yeah,
I,
we took the F
I
train. Yeah.
put Penelope in one of the last cars in the corner in the seat at F. You just stay here to the last stop. That's it.
Just get out the last stop and walk down the road.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, go
Sixth
down there.
Avenue, Stillwell Avenue, Stillwell.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
Stillwell, isn't that Civil War?
it might be. It might be, but again, for some reason they gave you guys in Brooklyn a lot of Revolutionary War
Which I like.
hero.
Which was amazing to
But
me.
isn't your place Bronx, isn't that younger than Brooklyn?
Oh yeah, oh yeah. The Bronx. Let me tell you, the Bronx. Okay, you figure the city consolidated in 1897,
Mm-hmm.
right? That's when the creation of actually it was called Greater New York. The Bronx was just farmland. The
Mm-hmm.
Bronx was just farmland. I came across an old picture of a train stop I used to take to work, Westchester Avenue and Morrison Avenue. Other than this, other than the elevated train, there's nothing there.
Wow.
There's nothing there, and I pretty much think if you listened to the photograph hard enough, you probably heard a cow move.
Now,
Okay, because it was the Bronx was
now
just farmland.
let me ask you this though, because like we go to places in the Bronx and then we come back to Brooklyn because we're going to school, right? But people don't
Mhm.
know that Fordham University is there. The medical school my sister went to is there. Albert Einstein is there.
Hmm.
There's a bunch of really great schools in the Bronx. But
Yeah.
Mhm.
back in the I think early '80s, early late '70s, people knew Fort Apache, the Bronx. What the hell is that?
Fort Apache was down around like 169th coming off of Boston Road,
Mm.
heading towards Westchester Square. And it it's just like the rest of the city, that area was going through a lot of changes when it came to housing.
Hmm.
Because y'all gotta understand, with at one point they were building Co-op City. You had a large Jewish, German Jewish population in the Bronx. It was like overnight they moved to Co-op City and maybe Westchester County. The building stock that was in that area, the the landlords started to neglect it. Okay, they weren't taking care of the building, just like East New York.
Yeah.
They weren't taking care of the building stock. They let it decay. Then, as you had a resurgence of street gangs during the late 60s, early 70s, they was actually paying some street gangs to torch these buildings.
Awful.
Okay, and so Fort Apache,
Is there a
had,
place in the Bronx? Is there a place in the Bronx called Fort Apache?
yeah, that's
Okay.
that's that's where let me see, my niece was in the 40th. That's either the 40th or the 41st precinct.
Okay.
Okay, and that's a nickname that the police officers came up with because they felt with the crime and everything they were under siege. Okay, and then that's when you had A couple years later, you had the movie with Paul Newman and I
Pam,
think
Pam
Pam
Grier.
Grier.
Yep.
Yeah,
She was
because
a hooker.
yeah, actually, the suicide attempt scene in the movie was filmed on the roof of my ex fiance's building.
But you know
Okay,
what the thing is though? Why make a movie like that about us? I don't live in the Bronx, but the Bronx is part of New York City. I got brothers. When I say brothers, I don't mean like blood brothers. I mean
right.
black brothers that live in the Bronx. Why would you want to do that to us? Why you want to do that? Say that about us?
Because for it's a misconception across the spectrum. Conservatives like a movie like that so they can say, see how these people are living.
Yep.
Okay, they're animals.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, on the other side, liberals, because Paul Newman was very progressive, but they think that if they put this movie out in movie theaters, they figure people will get a better understanding of what the neighborhood's going through. With what they don't understand is that a lot of different factors go into why that neighborhood is. Listen, I just found that. Let me give you a quick story. Where I work at, Rockaway Avenue. One night, waiting for the bus, I looked at this old municipal building. I'm trying to figure out what the hell this building is. So I looked, and it said the 60th precinct, but it was an abandoned building. So I did a little bit of research. I found out that when the city redid the police precincts, they changed it to the 79th. It's also a building that was featured in the pilot episode of Kojak. What is it, the Marcus Nelson murders or something like that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
And I
love those
saw
old buildings, man.
yeah, and I saw, old pictures. In fact, I'm willing to bet that on the other side of Rockaway Avenue, there's another building. I wouldn't bet that that building was probably a firehouse that they abandoned.
I love those two. Are they going to tear it down?
I've been working out there 7 years, and I've never seen anything done with the building. You can see old photos. You remember how cops used to wear the light blue shirts?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can see old photos of them hanging out in front, and it's crazy because you got little kids hanging out in front of the police station too.
Wow.
That's back in the
Yeah,
day, man. That's back in the
yeah,
day.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's back in the day. So this was something that happened during the late '60s, early '70s across the board in New York. It wasn't just the Bronx, it wasn't just Brooklyn. You had the same situation with housing stock in Manhattan and Harlem,
Yeah, and Brooklyn too.
um,
Brooklyn
Brooklyn.
too. But
Okay,
you know who it was though? It was that damn Howard Cosell on that Yankee telecast.
yeah, he was part of the problem because
Yeah,
they
he said,
would
"Oh
it was
look, the Bronx is
the
burning."
burning. Yeah, yeah, exactly. You know
Why would he say that?
what it was I think what was it, the World Series?
No, it was a regular fucking
It was a
game,
regular.
man.
Okay, it was probably a regular because back then they had ABC had Monday Night Baseball,
Yeah, they
so
had
they
baseball. Yeah,
Yankees were playing somebody, and it was I guess the Goodyear blimp or something took an aerial shot, and they just happened to see a fire.
a fire was going on. That's it. There's a
Yeah,
random
that's
fucking
all.
fire.
But
And this
he
motherfucker come out and said the Bronx is burning.
well
New York
he
is out of
would
control.
yeah he would hyperbolate over everything, and it didn't help that you had newspapers like the New York Post.
Oh God.
Okay, rather let me rephrase that. You had papers like the New York Post
Mm.
post Dorothy shift.
Yeah.
Okay, because when Dorothy Shift had the New York Post, that's when the New York Post was blue, not like the red, which signifies the money that it bleeds every
Mm-hmm.
day. But
Hmm.
yeah, Dorothy Shift, she was progressive, and the New York Post was an evening newspaper.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
so yeah, what it is now. Getting back to streets,
Yep.
you know, here it comes. Here it comes with Queens.
Okay. Queens is a
Whoever,
bunch to me. Queens is a bunch of numbered streets. But go ahead.
no, Queens is chaos.
Ah,
Queens is
yeah.
because again, you have to be laser point precise with addresses in Queens or you're screwed. Okay, because say like you got a piece of paper and you see somebody, it says 47th Street or it just says 47th. So you
Right.
think it's maybe 47th Street in Queens. You
Mm-hmm.
better find out because you have a 47th Street, you have a 47th Avenue, you have a
Mm-hmm.
47th Drive, you
That's
have a
crazy.
47th Lane.
That's crazy.
Yes,
But
it
you know
is.
what though? But that's how it is in South Florida.
Also
Like if you
crazy.
go to street, you have let's say Sixth Street, Sixth Court, Sixth Place. You know,
Pick
then
a
you may have
fucking
an
pick a
avenue,
goddamn pick a number. You
and they
know,
all. And the thing is, though, they will all be like parallel to each other.
that's
Oh
You
what
know,
I'm
no!
saying. Why would you do that?
I don't know. They did it.
You have people driving around in circles. You
Yeah,
know what?
that's it.
And I would say, you know what? I don't know house I'm supposed to be at 43rd Street or 43rd. This is the house I'm going in. Fuck it, I'm going in this house. I'm not driving around in circles no more. Tired of that shit.
Yeah,
I
but
don't
they
know.
do have like that.
I don't get it. I don't understand it. I understand, yes, Queens is unique because that's another thing. Queens, they when you get a letter from somebody from Queens, it doesn't have the regular address. It'll have the street, the lane, the avenue, whatever the drive, but it'll say Astoria, Queens.
Well,
It's
you
so
know
damn
what? Like
stupid.
one of my friends did not put which was she sent letters from Jamaica, New York. I'm like, where the hell is that?
It's so stupid. Listen, when I was out of state and I used to send letters to my mother, I could put Brooklyn, New York 11205, or I could put New York, New York 11205. They both got
Hmm.
to her. They both
Yeah.
got to her. What is
Yeah.
this shit about? What is Elmhurst and all that shit? What is that? Jamaica Queens.
I
Do they
don't
want to
know.
be part of? Do they want to be part of New York or
Not
not?
Queens. She just called. They called it Jamaica, New York. They didn't say Jamaica, Queens. It's a
Well,
Jamaica, New York.
well, you know what? You hit the nail on the head. There's certain parts of this city, and this has been ingrained in them, where they want to be part of New York, but they don't want to be part of New York. That's just like if you in the Northwest Bronx, you'll get and somebody in Northwest Bronx, and they send you a letter. You get a letter saying Riverdale, New York.
Hmm.
It's the freaking Bronx, but
This is
Riverdale
crazy.
always felt that yeah, we're not really part of and especially the
Uh,
'70s and the '80s, Riverdale. Oh hell no, we ain't, we ain't part of the Bronx. We'll write Riverdale.
New Riverdale, yeah. And in
Just,
Brooklyn, you know about your neighborhood. It's like Bed Stuy, right? You in Crown Heights, you in Prospect Park, you Coney Island, you East New York, you Brownsville. But everybody
mm,
basically know that's Brooklyn. Everybody knows Brooklyn. Everybody knows it's part of New York. But Queens they take it to another level, man.
yeah, they, because and I suspect some of that comes from they feel that in a way they're still a part of Long Island because technically Brooklyn and Queens are attached, not technically, geographically, they're
mhm.
attached to Long Island.
So, okay, a question when you say this, like you talk about how Brooklyn has the Dutch influence. Is there any other of the boroughs that has the Dutch influence regarding names, buildings, and stuff like that, or is it just kind of Brooklyn?
No, the Bronx has a connection. Just the Bronx alone. Okay, the Bronx, all of the Bronx was Bronx Bronx land, Jonas Bronx.
Mm,
Okay,
okay.
he was a wealthy Dutchman, and he had land most of the Bronx, even Westchester County.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely the west side of the Bronx River, because for decades the west side of the Bronx River, that was New York City after they brought the land from Bronx. The east side was Westchester County.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So when I guess when he passed and they divided up property and all that there, the Dutch and I guess eventually the British, they decided to keep his name, but they applied what they call the Mississippi. Okay, people call it the Mississippi River, but some people out and down south and heading up to Minnesota call it just the Mississippi.
Mm-hmm.
So with the Bronx, they just call it the Bronx, and then they
Right.
put the X
Mm-hmm.
at the end. Um, Other than that, oh, and maybe the Van Cortlandt
Oh yeah,
Manor.
that's another name. That's another name people mess up. Van Cortlandt, Van
Hmm.
Cortlandt, and Van Wyck.
Yeah.
Those look normal to me.
Well, let me ask you this, Penelope. How do you pronounce the street? And I'll spell it out for you. Schilling.
Shilling.
You got it.
How else would
Schilling
you
Street.
pronounce it?
Huh?
How else you? I mean, that's a phonics one, right?
Well, kind of, but people mess it up. People
How do they
mess that
pronounce
street
it?
name. Huh?
How do they pronounce it?
Skilling schooling. Just
So
various
how do
tongue
you all
tie.
pronounce it?
This is the way that you pronounced it.
How about you, James? You pronounce it the same way?
Yeah, I say shilling, but then again, it could be
Skilling.
shitting.
Skilling
Okay.
Street.
Okay. That's what that's what I'm talking about. People acting out, always acting out, and that's fine.
No, that's not.
I didn't know we want to go up there to New York because y'all want
That's
to start acting out.
well,
Listen,
Is this normal?
you should know you got two live ones here. So,
Yeah, it's like first start acting normal, and then you all start doing crazy stuff.
well,
Yep.
well,
That's
like
how-
Astor and Waldorf.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Okay.
Those are easy. I mean,
Yeah.
the thing, the other thing is that people, your friend with the purple train. The thing is that every train or bus that goes in through New York in the different boroughs have different designations.
Hmm.
Like you'll get the M. Well, back in the day, so things maybe probably had changed since my day. But you get M buses in Manhattan, and there's no M buses in Brooklyn. And then you get most of the buses in Brooklyn are B. The B44, the B42, B36.
Yeah.
So you get those, and very, I have never taken a bus ride from Brooklyn to the city. Never. I've always taken a train.
And you see, you just mentioned another controversy, the city,
Hmm. Well, yeah.
the the
Some of y'all say
city.
the city, and the city means different things to different people. Y'all don't use the term the city.
Yeah, we don't use in the Bronx. You're either going uptown or downtown.
And,
What's
and the,
uptown?
but
Wait, what is uptown?
Uptown is further up towards Gun Hill Road.
Okay,
Okay,
and that's still
downtown,
in the Bronx.
downtown, huh?
Is this in the Bronx?
Yeah, Gun
Okay,
Hill Road in the Bronx.
okay, and
That's
then downtown is where?
Manhattan.
Okay,
see, that's the thing. Let me ask you this, since I'm trying to educate myself about the Bronx. As George Bush said, I went to the Bronx, and then I went to the Queens, and then I went to Manhattan.
hmm,
But but Brook, Brooklyn has a specific downtown which they destroyed to make that stupid arena.
Yeah.
So did the Bronx have a specific downtown the way Brooklyn had?
Yes, you would consider unofficially downtown in the Bronx to be the hub. Okay,
And what
the
was
hub.
there? What kind of stores was there?
The hub is 149th Street and Third Avenue, and you had Alexander's, you had Newberry's, you had Woolworths, you had municipal
Okay, so
buildings.
the same kind of stuff that we had in downtown Brooklyn,
The
basically.
only the only difference though is that you guys had Borough Hall,
Right,
right downtown
What,
Brooklyn.
right.
what is
What
that?
That's the last stop in Brooklyn before you reach Lower Manhattan.
yeah, Borough Hall is that's where the Brooklyn that was their city hall. You
Yeah.
know,
Okay.
Borough Hall. Now in the Bronx, our Borough Hall was further up on East Tremont and what's that street? Webster. It's a if you go there now, it's strange because if you go there now to East Tremont and Webster, you'll see a nice park area, but you'll see like steps leading up to nothing.
Hmm.
Okay, and the reason why it's leading up to nothing is because that's where our borough hall used to be.
Mm.
Okay. They tore it
But
down.
they tore it down. Now I could be wrong. Our if you want any municipal business with the Bronx, you got to go up to Fordham.
Fordham Road.
Okay, you got to go to Fordham Road. It's they built the brand new office building there. That's where I believe all the Bronx government offices are, and it's across the street from Fordham Road.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Another quick thing about Fordham Road, the priest that started Fordham University,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, he was like pro-slavery.
Oh boy, there you go.
Yeah, there you go.
I
Just
know was the reason. I know was the reason why I didn't want to go to that goddamn school. And so that's where our president started out at before he transferred to Philadelphia
Mhm. Yep.
incredible.
or bought his way into Philadelphia. So
Yep.
but Penelope, there's a bunch of other places that I think you would have an easy time saying. I think you would like the Valzano,
Yeah.
right?
Verrazano
And
Narrows Ridge. Yeah.
yeah, and of course, uh, uh, Putnam, and what else? What else? We did Herkimer already. We did the
Right.
Herkimer.
Right.
Right.
But I was going to say
Uh,
something. We started with Herkimer, and I was going to say something about that.
right.
That I would think that I'd say Herkimer, but also I remember when I first saw the name Mortimer, and I have never heard it before, but I read it first. I
Yeah.
thought that was Mortimer. I found out later it was Mortimer. So I don't know if I've seen Herkimer that I maybe said Herkimer instead of Herkimer.
No, that's Herkimer.
Yeah, I
Oh,
mean, I know it's
Once
Herkimer, but I
again,
said that if I saw it, I'm not saying that
right.
I would necessarily pronounce it. I said, well, I would pronounce it Herkimer. I said
Hmm.
not necessarily because when I saw Mortimer, I pronounced it Mortimer. So it's a possibility when I saw Herkimer the first time I would have said Herkheimer. I don't know.
Yeah, that would have been wrong.
It would have
well
been
you
wrong, but I would have done it anyway.
you know, and listen, it happens to the best of us because you know a street name that when I lived in Brooklyn I had a problem with it.
What?
Lorimer.
What?
What?
Lorimer.
Lorimer.
In fact, I might not even be saying it now.
Yeah, I think you may be saying
Lor
it.
Lorimer,
I'm
Lorimar.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
It's
And you may be trying
it's
to say, like, remember the street name Llewyl. It's Llewellyn.
Llewellyn.
Yeah.
well,
Yes.
no. This is on Broadway under it's it crosses Broadway and you have the G and up on the elevated you have the J train.
So it's near Bushwick.
Right.
I don't know that street, man.
L Lori Mar.
Lorimer.
Lorimer. Lorimer.
Yeah, never heard of it.
And you know what? And it's
I'm not
okay
from
for
New
you.
York, so
It's okay. It's okay for you to mispronounce those names like that. Some of the streets, because nobody gives a damn about those places like that.
okay, it's very nice.
No, nobody cares.
The
Nobody
kids live
cares
there,
about.
they care.
Well, you know what? Good for them. Nobody cares
Oh,
about.
and see, you see, this is another thing I like about the city because you always come across something new. In the course of me 2 weeks ago trying to get home on a Friday morning, the bus that I took, the B60, didn't stop at Fulton because of construction. So he kept going and going and going. So
Mm.
finally I said, listen, do me a favor, pick me off at the next train.
That's it.
Pick
Exactly.
me off, pick me off at the next train
Yeah.
station, please.
I gotta get off somewhere.
I never, I never heard maybe I wasn't paying attention, but I never heard or saw this train station in my life. Otto, you heard of Wilson Avenue?
Yeah.
I, and plus the way I swear the way the station looked, it was Twilight Zone time.
Yeah.
Because first
Really?
of all, it's in a little cul-de-sac.
Yeah. It's old as hell.
Oh, yeah, it looked like it because when I turned the corner, I said, "Well, Mississippi, goddamn, this
Yeah.
motherfucker
It's
put
old.
me off in front of a museum."
Yeah. It's old as hell. I mean, some of the buildings of Brooklyn are so beautiful. As a kid, and growing up and seeing such beautiful buildings, I just absolutely fell in love with the architecture. I don't see how you
Yeah.
cannot not fall in love with the architecture.
Well, see, that's what I'm saying because it looked like first of all, it was in a little cul-de-sac.
Hmm.
Then it looked like a museum. I was like,
Yeah,
Mississippi, yeah, see, he put me off in front of a museum. What's going?
yeah,
And then when I went in to get on the train, the L train, it was level with the street,
Huh.
which I I only see that like on the Q train or further up in the Bronx with the 5 train.
now see,
And it's
I never saw a subway, a train level with the street. Never in my life, ever.
well, this
Wow.
one was, and the weird part about it was that was just for the track going to Manhattan,
Hmm.
but I couldn't figure out whether the track going further into Brooklyn was on top of that track or what. It was just
Yeah, Wilson Avenue, man.
it was weird, but it was a unique. It was a
Yeah, it's
unique weird.
beautiful. It's beautiful,
Yeah.
and then some places in Brooklyn, they're easy to pronounce, but they sound ominous. You know, like
Like what?
Gravesend.
Okay.
Red
And
Hook.
yeah, I mean Gravesend is exactly what you think it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's a bunch of graves there, like people
Okay.
cemeteries.
Go very straightforward with that.
And Red Hook doesn't sound too promising either now.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. It doesn't. No, that's true. But it's not better than a Gravesend.
Yeah.
You
I'll tell you
know,
what.
Red Hook, you think you get out there, you get hooked in the back with a
Yeah, but one of those what they call those,
longshoreman.
what they yeah, you might at the end of a hook you right in your back.
Yeah.
And
But you know,
maybe it might have a bar from a Dick Tracy cartoon called The Dripping Eyeball.
yeah.
Okay.
But the thing is that the people who are new to New York you have to integrate with us. You
Mm-hmm.
know, don't change things, and don't tell us how to pronounce our streets. You know, and I think speaking for someone who used to be there, and not speaking for James. James, I think James feels the same way. But you have to integrate yourselves and not try to
We're
take
taking
over.
over and changing
Yeah,
everything.
and give people strange ass names. Take the time out to listen
Well,
into
And to
how
well,
street
learn.
names are
Yeah.
pronounced, and
look,
don't call shit purple trains and all that shit like that.
Yeah.
look at the controversy a couple of years ago where these people moved into, I guess it was like maybe Central Harlem, maybe a little above
Mhm.
125th Street, and they were trying to call it. Was it No Ha?
Yeah,
Soha,
yeah,
Soha,
yeah.
everything south of Houston.
That's
So
such a
that.
slap. That's such a slap in the face.
You
So
It's
you
such a
know?
just
big
got here.
slap in
Who
the
are
face.
you?
Yeah. And see, this was the big controversy
Developers. That's what it is.
that that I was involved in as a paralegal back in the early turn of this century. Okay, because for years, maybe I could expand on it on another episode, but for years, the African drummers used to have their thing every Saturday afternoon going into evening in Mount Morris Park, aka Marcus Garvey Park.
Mhm.
Oh, I didn't know
And
that.
these people, um, gentrifiers moved in, and they was complaining. They was calling the cops.
Can you believe
Um,
that?
yeah, it was a whole big ruckus. They would get online and say derogatory things about
Good
uh,
jerks.
niggas and spicks with their drumming, and they can't sleep at night and all this here. And at one point, the police came in and was stopping the drummers.
That's incredible.
Okay,
Because me, Penelope
Yeah.
and I were listening last night, and there was a place next door that was having like small
Yeah.
barbecue,
A party like
and
a.
they were playing the Isley Brothers and some oldies, old school good stuff that you would hear at a barbecue, and man,
Yeah.
it would just take you back.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
sound would just take you back. I know this where we living right now is gentrifying. I don't ever want to not hear that. You
Yeah.
know, I don't ever not. And the thing is, they were very respectful. They turned their music off around about shortly before midnight.
hmm
Yeah.
well, that's been a problem, and I've experienced some of it firsthand. Okay,
Really.
yeah. I think I told you all a while back about the time I almost. This was at the start of COVID. I almost went to jail because this young girl has her dog sitting on the
Uh-huh.
train seat.
Mhm.
And I told her, because the dog started to lick my arm. I'm like, listen, you gotta move this dog, okay? Because not for nothing, I've had bad experience with a dog. And then her,
Stole your cookie.
yeah,
Yeah.
among other things,
Right.
okay? Among other things, yeah, I think y'all forgot the story about how the Rottweiler bit me up too on the job.
Oh.
Okay.
So, nah. Then her friend got in, stuck his nose in. I said, listen, you need to mind your business. I said, you don't want me to get up off of the seat now.
Mhm.
Oh, well, why you being so serious? I said, oh, you think it's funny? I said, you're not going to think it's funny once I get up off the seat.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Okay.
You should have been old school, James. You should have had a copy of the New York Daily News. Rolled that shit
Mm.
up. Rolled it up before you sat down. Hit that dog with that paper. Say, yeah, move your dog, man.
And you know what? Unfortunately, I've had hit somebody with a rolled up newspaper on the train before.
Really?
Yeah. I listen,
Because you know what? He sat down. He mispronounced Koskiaska. He went that town on him.
Yeah,
yeah,
move
it
your
was
dog.
on
Move your
God, you
dog, man.
got it, got it.
And
Say
you
it
know what?
again.
The thing that's unrelated to streets is the courtesy. We talking about courtesy now, and we'll talk about courtesies in other shows. But it
Mm-hmm.
used to be if you were reading like a newspaper, like New York Times, Daily News, whatever, there was a way to read it so that you didn't interfere with your neighbor sitting next to you on the subway seat. There was a way to fold it. There's a way to
Mhm.
it was an art form,
Yeah.
and they don't have it. They don't that doesn't exist anymore.
Nah, it doesn't it just because now everybody's
Everybody uses
on.
their phones.
But see, that courtesy has left the building, and it's been replaced by phone rudeness.
Hmm.
Okay, because you get people on the train, they got to have all this room to play on their phone. Okay, just again, just the other day, I'm sitting there, and this brother is sitting next to me. So this young white girl came, and he moved to the side, but just the way she sat down, she like sat down like we were playing hockey and whatnot, and she elbowed
Yeah.
him, and he said, "Listen, how much more room you need?"
Yeah, yeah,
Okay, and she said, "Oh, well, I'm good." He said, "Yeah, I know you're fucking good."
yeah. Right, goddamn
Yeah.
it. That's
You
right,
know,
goddamn it.
and it's it's listen. I don't have a problem with people moving into New York City.
Hmm.
Chase your dream. Plus, you add to the city's vibrance and everything. But at the same time, you got some people that don't need to live in New York City because they have a wrong concept. Okay, this is a city of 8 million people. It's not just about you.
Right.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. James, you remember the competition for the pole in the subway?
Yeah.
Right. Okay, I'm gonna put my hand here. Don't put your fucking hand next to my hand. Don't let your hand touch my hand. Put your hand on top of my hand. Pole competition.
Oh, yeah, pole competition.
Door
Now
competition. Door.
the door. Now you get people again. It's this lack of phone etiquette.
Yeah.
Why is it? What are you texting that's so important that you got to block the doorway for people to get on?
Yeah, you gotta
Yeah.
get the f out
Get
of
out
my
the
way.
way.
You know,
Watch the closing doors. Get the hell out of my way. I gotta get
and
on
and,
this
and,
train.
and then you get some people step off, let people get on, then step back on. Why you got
Yeah,
to block the doorway? I
that's
don't
what I
know.
Because
do.
they
That's
don't
what
want to get all in there and stand by the door.
that is. I've always. That's what my mama taught me. Step off the train onto the platform, let people get off, and then get your ass back on the train.
Yeah.
You be hard pressed to find that these days. You be
Mm.
hard pressed to find it.
All right, you all. I'm looking at our clock and we get ready to we're winding down time. So I know everybody has their favorite thing, the mispronounced one that you hear the most. I know we talked about some of the big ones, but what are other ones that you all have heard people is completely mispronounced that you look at and say, why? Why? I mean, things that you look at it that you think it
Well,
phonetically
my
how to
word
do
is
it.
always going to be Houston, because people from
Houston.
out of town just think that's so damn funny. They think it's so funny. They think that we're the ones mispronouncing the word, and they think it's funny. And it's like it's a cliche you see in the movies and stuff, and it's ha 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 ha. But it's Houston, bitch. That's all it's ever be. Houston.
I can't I can't think of I can't think of any other streets that are not pronounced how they should be pronounced by New York standards.
Mhm.
Um like I said, the dude just put a Jedi mind trick on me with that
Purple
purple
train.
because
Purple train.
yeah, that
Purple train.
I kid you not, for a second, Prince jumped into my head. Then that's why I told him, I said, listen, do me a favor. Don't you say seven train, not purple train.
Purple train. I tell you what, man. He lucky he ain't running to me. Like I said, his ass will still be traveling because I'll be telling him all kind of places to go
Oh, to go to Spite Dieville and
to.
then
Yeah,
Yeah,
go there.
now that
Yeah,
to me is a thing that I would not pronounce right. I would not, but based on how it's spelled, I would not know what that was.
Spite
yeah,
Diver.
Yeah, I because I don't know what that's supposed to be.
yeah.
I
And to
mean,
tell you the
say,
truth, it's
uh-huh.
so obscure. I don't know whether it's part of Westchester County or the Bronx or the tip of Manhattan. Um, I do know. I think we talk about Putnam.
Yeah, putting
Yeah,
them.
Yeah, there was actually a Westchester County line Putnam line, but they discontinued it.
Well, I didn't know.
Yeah.
Putting
All
them
right.
on.
All right,
But
you
no,
all.
we got to school these newcomers about manners, you know,
Yeah.
because I think that's important too. Because it's like James said, if you're on a crowded train and people need to get off, people need to get off on their
Hmm.
stop. Get your ass off the stop, and people need to get on.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if you're gonna be by the door and you're gonna be leaning against the door, get
Got to
off
get
on the
off the
platform and then
bat.
get your ass back on. Right.
Well, you know the MTA, they do have like little well, not little, but they have advertisements, you know, telling, the do's and don'ts and whatnot. In fact, I recently found out that technically you're only you're only given like 90 minutes to travel on the subways.
What do you
Really? So what
mean?
happens? You got to get another ticket?
I don't know how they enforce it.
What do you
No,
do?
I think they try to dissuade homelessness,
Oh
but
shit.
yeah, but listen, they have a in fact it's a electronic sign on the subways, because now most of the signs on the subways are actually like videos, and it tells you the do's and don'ts. You're not supposed to eat, drink, or smoke on a train. You're not supposed to vape on the
Mhm.
train. You only got like an hour, 90 minutes to use public transportation.
That's crazy. That's
Definitely, if you take up, because that's how they've been arresting people that have been people that are wanted for certain things.
Really?
Definitely, you can't take up more than one seat.
I
Yeah.
know. I know. I hate that. People
And
laying the
nobody should have
fuck
to
down.
tell you that.
But see, eating on the subway is something. If I was hungry, I eat. I try not to eat on the subway because it's dirty. I
Yeah,
try
no
not to
joke. I
eat
don't
there.
want to eat on the
I
subway.
try to
That's the
eat,
whole
but
thing.
I agree about the not smoking. And
Yeah.
and and tell me 90 minutes on the train when the goddamn train stops in the middle of the tunnel and
Yeah.
just
Well,
sit there.
I think that's just something they they put out to supposedly combat homelessness, even though it's not really solving the problem.
Right.
But when I saw that, I'm like, well,
That's
like you,
crazy.
what if my train ride? What if I get stuck in a tunnel
Yeah, you
and
sitting
whatnot?
there.
For me, I got to get for where I got to go to because you made me sit here for half an hour.
We got a
Yeah,
backup. We have a backup transit situation near Chambers Street. We'll wait for the conductor to give us clearance so that we can go. But right now, it's all red lights for us now at this point. So
My
I
God,
don't hear
and,
that bullshit. You gonna give me a ticket?
and then when you get off the train, when it finally gets to the station, they put you in handcuffs.
Yeah, get out of here. It's like in Philadelphia, and Penelope and I, they have a transfer, right? It got a time limit on it. And so the bus was late as hell. It was cold as hell too, and I was mad as hell. And so I got on the bus, and the transfer had expired like maybe 30 minutes ago, I guess, or something like
yeah,
that.
because he waited for a long time. Those
Yeah, the
buses.
bus driver said to me, he said, "Oh, this transfer expired." I turned around. I said, what did you say to me?" He didn't say nothing else. I was so fucking mad. Your job is to get me where I need to go.
The
You're the
blister. I mean,
reason why
it's
I'm late.
cold.
You're the reason why my transfer expired.
And they tell me my transfer expired.
It's 20 degrees. It's 20
Yeah, my
degrees. My transfer
transfer
expired.
expired.
So what do you
like
want me
he,
to do? Get off the bus?
like
Uh,
he actually was gonna wanted you to say, well, I'm sorry, Mr. Bus Driver, let me
Are
get
you
off.
crazy?
I guess. I guess.
I was so goddamn. I don't know if I had been that mad. I think my stature. I must have grown 4 inches taller that day. I was so fucking mad.
It's like, come on, you gotta be kidding to say that to somebody. I mean,
Oh Lord.
after all that, I mean, he'd have to say he had no idea about the fact that people were waiting for like 2 hours.
That bus was packed,
Two
and just like in
hours.
New York, Just like in New York, you got like 3 buses behind each other. You know, like where the hell y'all been?
Yeah, I don't understand it. I call that the wagon train effect.
Yeah,
And whatnot. So I'm like, oh, obviously they're afraid of an Indian attack
I
because
don't know what the hell. And listen, here's the other thing. I know we got to go, but I get buses like that. They got to stop. But I'm not going to the front. I'm going to the back. I'm going to the back door.
yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
not. I'm getting on this fucking bus. I'm going home.
I'm out. I'm done.
I'm getting on this bus. Somebody,
Uh,
so they're all people are all downstairs, down in the well and shit. On the move the
Yeah.
fuck over.
Yes.
I'm getting to this motherfucker, closing this thing up. I'm moving.
I mean, they make you wait so long. So long.
I ain't paying no fare, and no
Yeah.
cop better not stop me either. I'm getting on this bus.
Right. Okay, y'all. Well, you're right. It's our time. It's gone, but it's been really great. We'll be back again next week. Probably about a
We
half
got to talk
hour
about
earlier.
courtesies. New
Yeah.
York courtesy.
Well, I know you're talking courtesy, but we first got to talk about, what is New York City? The whole thing.
The whole schmear.
The whole schmear, man. Okay, right? The whole
yeah,
schmear.
yeah.
Okay. Right. Thank you, the Native Yorkers. You all can say your goodbyes, and we'll be out of here. Say New York goodbyes. I don't know how those
There's no
go.
such thing as New York goodbye.
Nah.
No,
Forget
No
it's-
New York.
about it.
Nah.
Forget about it.
Yeah.
all right. Thank you all. We'll be back next week. Take care. Bye.